Okay. Now after this, see this picture. Here the cells are dividing and forming a blastocyst. Clear? Beautiful illustration of the cells dividing and forming a cluster of new cells. Then again, the stem cell. The stem cell has two properties I told you. They have a property of self-renewal, and by self-renewal, they will form another stem cell only. And the second process there is differentiation. By differentiation, they will form more differentiated cells. That means more specialized cells, which are specialized to do special functions, only few functions. Okay, they are not as versatile as the stem cell itself. So the differentiated cells can also be formed from the stem cells, but at the same time, the stem cell can also be formed by the process of self renewal. Clear? Moving forward. See, this the same thing can be depicted from this diagram also, this illustration also. The stem cells can replicate itself and forming the similar kind of cells. See, you can see here that this is the same kind of cell as these are formed. So this is replicating itself. Second is the stem cell can change into many types of cells. It can form nerve cells, it can form liver cells, cardiac cells, muscle cells, intestinal cells, or blood cells. So they are more specialized or differentiated, what we call. Okay, moving forward is the levels of stem cells on the basis of their developmental potential. See, I have told you about the embryonic stem cells and also told you that embryonic stem cells can differentiate and form any kind of cells, any kind of specialized cell. So let us now study about these levels. The first type of stem cell is the totipotent stem cell. Totipotency, you have already studied or heard about totipotency, like the plant cells. The plant cells are totipotent. If we take, in case of vegetative propagation, if we take any cell from the plant and allow it to grow on a culture medium, it can give rise to the whole plant. So that is called as totipotency. Similar kind of property is possessed by certain stem cells also. The totipotent cells can give rise to an entire organism. For example, the spores and zygote are totipotent cells. The examples are very important. Totipotency is the ability of a single cell to divide and produce all the types of cells in an organism, spores and zygote. Okay, if we take the example of human development, the totipotent cell is a zygote. Zygote is a perfect example of a totipotent cell. It undergoes cleavage, forming identical totipotent cell, and after reaching a 16 cell stage, the totipotent cells of the morula differentiate into cells that will eventually become blastocysts. Okay, ultimately forming then gastrula. If you remember, it has been taught in class 11th. Gastrula has three germ layers. These germ layers are endoderm, mesoderm, and ectoderm. So all these are, what are they? The zygote is the totipotent cell. Clear? Next level is pluripotent. Pluripotent is more differentiated. Okay, undifferentiated, totally undifferentiated is totipotent. Slightly differentiated is pluripotent. They originate from totipotent cell. They can also give rise to most but not all cell types, okay, which are necessary for the fetal development. These can be isolated from early embryos. With reference to the human beings, pluripotency refers to the stem cells that has the potential to differentiate in any into any of the three germ layers. They can form the germ layers, but they are not as undifferentiated as zygote. Okay, so they may form ectoderm, interior lining. Mesoderm can form muscle, bone, blood, or the ectoderm. The pluripotent cells cannot give rise to complete organism, but they can make several types of organs and organ system. So here the embryonic stem cells come under pluripotent because they can give rise to many organs or many organ systems. Clear? Next is multipotent stem cells. The multipotent cells are formed after further differentiation of pluripotent cells. See, these are the levels of differentiations. The undifferentiated totipotent, somewhat differentiated pluripotent, then more differentiated multipotent. So what happens in multipotent? They can give rise to only limited number of cell types. For example, if we talk about hematopoietic cell means this the cells which are giving rise to the blood. So they can give rise to lymphocytes, monocytes, neutrophils, everything, but cannot differentiate into nerve cell. Okay, if we talk about hematopoietic cell, they can only give rise to different types of blood cells, but they cannot form a bone cell, a liver cell, or a brain cell. Clear? So that is a multipotent cell. After multipotent cells come unipotent stem cells. Uni means one. They are formed from further differentiation of the multipotent cells, and they can give rise to only single specific cell type. This is very important. Which is if we talk about liver cell, hepatoblasts, or which are formed from the hepatocytes, sites from the liver cell, they can give rise to certain single kind of cells which will form only the liver. So that is unipotent cell. So there is a slight difference between multipotent and unipotent. You understand? Multipotent is the hematopoietic, which can give rise to different types of blood cells. But when we talk about RBC stem cells, that RBC stem cells will give rise to only RBC cells. So RBC stem cells are unipotent, but hematopoietic stem cells are multipotent. You understand the difference? Okay, so totipotent can give rise to the entire organism. Pluripotent can form either can form most of the organs and organ system, but cannot form the whole organism. Multipotent can give rise to all the cells of an organ system, and unipotent can give rise to only one type of cells of an organ. Okay, clear? So remember this sequence: totipotent, pluripotent, multipotent, and unipotent. Clear? With examples. This question comes for a long answer type, and here you need to describe each one of this along with proper examples. Levels of stem cells on the basis of their developmental potential. If types of stem cell come, you will be writing down about adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells. But when developmental levels of stem cells development comes, you will write down about totipotent stem cell, pluripotent, multipotent, and unipotent. Clear?